Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Hey, it's Dave Ross with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD from Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Dr. Wagner is hosting a free stem cell webinar Thursday, April 24th to explain stem cell therapy.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And remind us which joints you've had the best success with.
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures, so if you're in pain, join him Thursday, April 24th for the free stem cell webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
You know that cartoon of the three-eyed fish swimming in polluted water next to a nuclear power plant?
Yeah, classic.
I used to think that was real, but I just learned that nuclear energy waste isn't some glowing green goo. It's actually used fuel rods from nuclear reactors that made electricity.
Wait, so no barrels of leaking sludge?
No, solid used fuel rods are safely stored at all the nuclear power plants in the U.S., including the one in Richland.
So the cartoon fish isn't real?
Not even close. Learn the facts about nuclear energy and used fuel at energy-northwest.com.
I've always been an athletic guy, but after turning 40, I noticed I was slowing down. I booked a free testosterone check with Revive Health and learned that low T doesn't just impact my performance in the bedroom. I've been following a custom treatment plan ever since, and today I'm feeling stronger and more confident than ever.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, text BOOST to 65555 or visit ReviveMensHealth.com to schedule your appointment. Message and data rates may apply. Message frequency varies. Text help for help. Text stop to cancel. See privacy policy at ReviveMensHealth.com/privacy policy. For info on how opt-in info will be used and terms and conditions at ReviveMensHealth.com/terms of use for terms of short code service.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio, KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle, Northwest News. This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. Senator Chris Van Hollen is just back from El Salvador, where he met with a Maryland man mistakenly deported there.
The government, in this case the Trump administration, is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order.
President Trump continues to insist there was cause for his deportation and listing a series of allegations.
This is the man that the Democrats are wanting us to fly back from El Salvador to be a happily ensconced member of the USA family.
Trump said today negotiations to win the war in Ukraine need to come to some conclusions soon. If not, he says the U.S. will have to take a pass. Stacey Lynn reports the federal judiciary wants more money to keep judges safe.
In a letter to Congress, it's asking for more funding to keep the federal courthouses safe at a time when threats have escalated. They call the current funding levels unsustainable, nearly $50 million less than what the courts requested just for security. More than 6 judges handling lawsuits against the Trump administration are already receiving enhanced online security screening. That typically includes scrubbing their personal info from the internet. Stacey Lynn, CBS News, Washington.
There's a new federal website for COVID information, and it looks a lot different from the old one. Here's Alexander Tin.
The White House is touting a new website titled Lab Leak, the true origin of COVID-19, which has replaced an earlier web page published by the Department of Health and Human Services that used to provide resources for how to find tests and vaccines for the virus.
The suspect in the Florida State University shooting remains hospitalized.
The suspect continues to receive treatment at one of our local hospitals. He did receive significant injuries in this event and will require a significant amount of time in that facility.
Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revel says once he's released, he will be moved to a detention center and charged with murder. 2 people died and 5 others are hospitalized after the shootings. Good Friday observances have taken place in Rome. CBS's Chris Livesay on whether the Pope will be taking part in the services.
Are we going to see him on Easter? Officially, he's not supposed to make any appearances, but it's become clear now Pope Francis makes those decisions, nobody else.
The 88-year-old Pope was recently hospitalized for 5 weeks with double pneumonia. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Coming up, a SWAT team surrounding an Everett motel right now. The breaking details after Nate Connors at the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk.
All right, Aaron, we're seeing big backups this afternoon between Marysville and Everett from an earlier collision at the Steamboat Slough. That cleared quite a while ago. South 5 remains crowded in Marysville from 136 to the Slough. North 5 is backed up from the Everett Mall to State Route 529. Everett to Marysville is going to take you 35 minutes. Coming the other way, Marysville to Everett is just 15. Seattle to Everett's going to take you a solid hour right now. Your backup starts near Lake City Way, continues to North Linwood. Bellevue to Everett's at 50 minutes. You're crowded between 520 and 522, and a little jam there in Alderwood right at the interchange. Everett to Seattle isn't too bad at 40 minutes. You got a brief backup there near the Everett Mall, and again from Lake City Way in the downtown Seattle. North 5 jams up at the north end of Boeing Field in the downtown. Those lake bridges are looking great, all clear, and we do have a stall. South 5 through Des Moines, just past State Route 516, is blocking your right lane. Seattle to Federal Way is going to take you 1 hour. That's a 25-minute delay. KIRO News Radio real-time traffic. I'm Nate Connors.
KIRO News Radio, breaking news.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Granillo. An Everett motel is surrounded by police at this hour as a SWAT team says 2 people are barricaded inside. Everett Herald says this is all unfolding at the Far West Motel on Evergreen Way, north of Madison Street. Police say 2 suspects may have been involved in a shooting. Police are asking you to avoid the area and, of course, more details as we learn them. A now former wrestling coach at an Auburn middle school is behind bars today. Daniel Lee faces 4 felony counts of sex crimes involving a 14-year-old. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey has more.
The 64-year-old coach is accused of sexually messaging a 14-year-old girl on his team and convincing her to send nude images and videos, reports KIRO 7 TV. Auburn PD spokesperson Colby Crossley.
This person is in a position of power, and they took advantage of someone that they obviously had power over, and that's very unfortunate.
The teen allegedly told a teacher about the messaging, and that teacher reported up the chain, leading to the arrest. In a notice to families, school officials said the suspect is no longer an employee. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
A second teenage suspect is in jail in connection with a deadly shooting at a house party in Des Moines. Pierce County deputies and a SWAT team arrested that 18-year-old last night. 2 teens were killed in that shooting last month. 4 others were injured. A 17-year-old is already charged with double murder in that shooting. State Senate punts on several new taxes a day after the governor says they are too risky. KIRO News Radio's Matt Markovich says of the 5, the senators have moved 2 up the food chain.
A key Senate committee greenlighted a new sales tax on a wide range of technology services and increased the capital gains tax on the sale of stocks and bonds from 7 to 9.9%. Combined, those 2 taxes would generate $5 billion over 4 years, but it's still far short of the $16 billion budget shortfall. The committee did not take action on a local property tax and levy lift for schools, expanding a business tax on retailer and wholesalers, and taxing EV manufacturers. Combined, that's a big no on $6 billion in taxes. The Democrats wanted to balance the budget. Matt Markovich, KIRO News Radio.
Got your forecast now, brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Sunny today, with highs already in the low 70s in many areas. 72 currently in Olympia. Right now, 70 in downtown Seattle. Enjoy it, because tomorrow we do have some scattered showers, highs in the upper 50s the next couple of days. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Dear Casey, this may seem to be a strange dedication request, but I'm quite sincere, and it'll mean a lot if you play it. Recently, there was a death in our family. He was a little dog named Snuggles, but he was most certainly a part of... Let's start again. From coming out of the record. Play the record, okay?
Oh, no.
See, when you come out of those up-tempo damn numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions, and then you got to go into somebody dying. You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but damn it, if we can't come out of a slow record, I don't understand it. Is Don on the phone?
Don.
Okay, I want a damn concerted effort to come out of a record that isn't a up-tempo record every time I do a damn death dedication. It's the last damn time I want somebody use his brain to not come out of a damn record.
Get Don on the phone.
That's up tempo, and I got to talk about a dog dying. What is this? Ponderous, man.
Oh my God.
Ponderous.
Casey having a bad day. Wow. And I gotta get my Catholic priest on the phone right after that. That doesn't work. Joe, who's producing it? Get Don on the phone. Get Don on the phone. Dive it into the news, Aaron. Casey Canada on the top 40 hits coming out of a dead dog dedication. It is Good Friday for you Catholics, for you Creasters. What is a Creaster, Joe?
Somebody who only goes to church on Christmas and Easter.
Yeah, that's right. You know where I first learned that expression?
Nope.
The man that's going to join us on the phone right now. Father Brian, did you know that? The first time I ever heard that expression, Creaster, was from you?
I did not.
Yes. Father, I first came across your wonderful teachings and your homilies and the way you brought everybody together over there at St. Joe's in Issaquah. We sent our kids there. Just absolutely loved going to Sunday Mass with you. There you are. And I wanted to have you on. I know you're at St. Stephen's the Martyr and St. Anthony's there over in Renton. I'm sure they are happy to have you. Is that right?
We hope so.
So on Good Friday, I've got a question for you. There's a great piece I saw in 2018 in the Wall Street Journal. It says, for those people that doubt the idea that there was the Jesus, think about it. A couple of ragtag people come out of the Mediterranean, far out near the Mediterranean, and then within 2.5 centuries, Christianity is practiced and celebrated almost all over the world in just 2.5 centuries. And this article goes on to sort of retrace and says something must have happened for those men they must have seen something that changed their life in such a way beyond anything anybody could possibly imagine that they then went out into the world to profess what they had seen and were willing to give up their life for it. So their belief by what they had witnessed was enough to change the world. Is that a pretty good way of summing it up?
It is. It's considered one of the proofs of the resurrection as the witness of the early apostles. They were disciples under Jesus, and after the resurrection, they become apostles who are sent. And when they were with Jesus in his earthly ministry, they followed him and shared meals with him and teaching and healing and all these great works of Jesus. But it wouldn't make sense to any person to think, oh, we're going to preach Jesus risen from the dead to a culture that is persecuting our leader. And there was no motivation for them to do this, no financial fame, status, anything like that, right? They would be resisted by the culture. So they must have encountered the risen Christ, we believe, in such a dramatic way that it, in a sense, it turned them around from walking away and kind of denying the Lord and being scattered at the crucifixion to come together and to go and proclaim to all nations that Jesus indeed had risen from the dead. It is kind of mind-boggling to even think that the fact that they would do this even to the point of their own death if they hadn't actually encountered the risen Christ. And so there's no other real good justification otherwise. You know, any normal person would say, okay, he was a good guy, sorry, it didn't work out, and we're on our way.
Yeah, I guess so. Following a line of logic would be, I guess, so they understand, they can then understand, okay, so he said he would rise again. So he rises again from the dead. He defeats death. So therefore, the disciples, the apostles, would then say, okay, so then I have nothing to fear, right? So death doesn't hold me back. So if Nero or somebody else wants to throw me to the lions, or I'm going to be, crucified upside down or whatever else it is, that's okay because I know there is a life beyond this life. Was that not sort of the general, societal beliefs at that time? Did people just assume, well, you just died and that was the end of you?
Yeah, and it shifted depending on the school of Jewish tradition, how they saw the afterlife. But there was a sense for the apostles that, well, if Jesus rose from the dead, then he can save us as well, right? We can share an eternal life with him because he's conquered the one thing that limits us from relationship and life for all time, which is death itself. And so then, yes, they felt empowered to share this message of the risen Christ. There's also in the New Testament definitely a sense that Jesus would come again.
Yeah.
Quickly. Right? So he's risen from the dead. He appears to the disciples and those gathered in a number of ways that we see in the New Testament, especially in the Gospels. And then we believe he ascends into heaven. And they were looking for him to come back again to wrap up all God's plan of salvation so that everything would be one in the Lord. And so there's definitely a sense of urgency. And also, I would say to a certain degree, protection or a sense of hope or promise of faith.
I see. So as Peter heads out and Matthew and John, as they head out into the world, I guess they think, well, we're, probably just a couple of weeks or months or a year till he comes back again. So we better hurry up and get out there and preach the word, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And so that people are ready to accept the Lord in faith. And then they also have a sense of saying, well, this is urgent news.
Yes.
Right? This isn't just kind of like, well, if we get to it, but no, like he's conquered the thing that is the separator for us all, which is death itself.
I'm speaking with Father Brian from St. Stephen's and the Martyr and St. Anthony's Catholic Church there in Renton. So, Father, there's so many stories that go into Good Friday and then, of course, Easter Sunday. On Friday, what's one of your favorite stories to preach from or to begin a homily from of all the different things happened?
Sure. Well, on Good Friday, of course, we remember kind of the passion narrative of Jesus. Many people would also know it as the Stations of the Cross. I go different ways depending on the year because it's so rich. There's so many levels to it. But it's that Jesus comes to be we believe, the new and definitive Adam. So it's a replacement of the fall and the sin of the time of creation. Jesus also becomes the new and definitive Moses, the Passover. There's also the context as well of that Jesus becomes the one who gathers all the nations to himself, and because he becomes the entire sacrificial system. The piece that I usually focus the most on Good Friday is how do we deal with suffering and death as human beings? Because my biggest challenge I had when I was in seminary was, okay, I get it, creation, the fall, the covenant, God establishes the people, Jesus comes, his passion, death, resurrection. And then now we're in this in-between time where we believe it's an already but not yet. So God's grace is already with us, but it's not yet brought to completion until Jesus comes again at some point.
The question you're probably asked all the time, well, then if God loves us, why does he let us suffer?
You bet. You bet. And the two answers are, one, I don't know because I'm not God. So I have my own perspective on this. However, we do believe that God is with us in the midst of the suffering. And that's what Jesus' passion shows us, that the suffering can be redeemed, actually, and transformed into new life so that it is not transmitted to others. Yep. So one of the lines in the church is like, pain or suffering that isn't transformed is transmitted. So a lot of what people encounter in their lives are wounds and hurts and sins and all the imperfections of life. And then they start dishing that out to other people.
Oh, I see.
And we see it played out again and again. And so we believe if we unite our sufferings with Christ, our entire lives of faith, then they can actually be transformed into new life where we grow in love, where we can see the promises of the kingdom, where we're able to be free in Jesus.
Let's talk about modern times now. You've been in this business for a long time of saving souls. Have you seen, I saw a piece in the New York Times that there are more young people are now going back to church.
I definitely see church attendance rising. This oftentimes will happen, of course, in societal dynamics. If there's world wars or after 9/11, it could be in the current context of, maybe political instability, some of the wars around the world, or even inflation, right, or cost of living. But I do believe that I see in people where they're looking for, as every generation, looking for meaning and oftentimes returning to the tradition that they grew up in some context as a framework that can provide them with some context, again, on who God is, who we are, what we're called to do, and who we're called to be in this life.
And we are, as organisms, as living creatures at the level we experience life, I think we have a natural desire to worship, to find something beyond ourselves. Because I think you only need to spend about 15 minutes with yourself to realize, well, there's got to be more than this, right? So I think we're predestined to think some power beyond, something else needs to pull me in a direction that has purpose. So perhaps after spending how many times sort of in the social media desert or wherever else people are just kind of going for whatever it is, alcohol, drugs, whatever, then they say, well, it's still not satisfying. There's still something inside me that has a desire to be quenched. And maybe it is a religion, an organized religion.
Yeah, I mean, St. Augustine said our hearts are restless until they rest in God, because only God is perfect, so only God can perfectly bring us peace. So then other things are good in their own way, right? It doesn't mean, people play sports or watch the Seahawks or whatever. That's fine, right? But it's not going to meet your ultimate fulfillment. When I was doing missionary work in Africa, I remember I talked to somebody and I was saying, I'm from Seattle. There's a lot of atheists and agnostics that live in the area and, people with different backgrounds. And I was talking to a couple of seminarians from Rwanda and Uganda, and they looked at me and they said, what's an atheist? I was like, it's somebody who doesn't believe in God. And they said, there isn't anybody in Africa who doesn't believe in something, right? And it might be some combination of syncretism, but I think it's actually embedded into us to pursue. And this isn't even from faith or religion. This is just simply philosophy and metaphysics. We're built to pursue the transcendentals, which we define this gets into Aristotle and Aquinas, but we define them as unity, truth, and goodness. That each person is designed to strive for perfect unity, truth, and goodness, or beauty or love, And so when we pursue those things, we can see that. We believe the ultimate, of course, is in God, and it's our participation in God that orients us in that way. But that every person that I encounter, whether they go to church or not, they're looking for the same things. And they're looking for unity, right? That we're all one, truth and goodness, and that everything fits where it should, and a sense of joy and happiness. And of course, I'm in organized religion, I'm a priest, that we believe the structure of the religion can provide you with a framework to pursue that in the best way possible. Where on your own, you might do it a little bit, but then it's difficult to build in those disciplines and habits, perhaps, to keep you oriented towards these, we believe, kind of how we're created.
And Billy Graham said once that when we come to the end of ourselves, we come to the beginning of God.
Yeah, and knowing that I'm not the answer to everything. And it especially becomes more apparent to people when things are not going their way.
Yeah.
They don't have control over everything. And our society, rightfully so. I want people to be capable and do good things and be good at their jobs and, take initiative. But it doesn't always build in the way in which we can move towards what St. Ignatius calls holy indifference, which is essentially do the best you can at what you're supposed to do, grow in your vocation, be good at your job, learn, etc., use your gifts, but also don't hold on to it as the source of your identity and your meaning. That your deeper meaning, your deeper meaning of the self is that you're a beloved son or daughter of God, right? You're a beloved child of God. Everything else kind of comes and goes. You currently have this radio show. I'm currently the pastor of this place. Well, all these things are going to change.
Yes.
at some point. So we arrive back at this core identity. And then from that place of holy indifference or freedom, then we can follow the Lord and then be able to respond to all the different blessings and challenges that life sends our way.
To open to it. Father, before we go on a lighter note, Joe was listening while I had my sister on the phone. And I told her I was going to have you on. And she said, well, as long as you get Father Brian on, why don't you do a quick confession for what you and your brother did to me Easter a long time ago. We were celebrating Good Friday. I think I was 10 or 11, Father. Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. And my brother and I decided that my sister would be the one to be crucified because she had longer hair. So we got 2 boards out of my Aunt Mary's garage, and we tied her to the board. And because she had longer hair.
That might have been traumatic for her. Luckily, John, there's a difference between mortal and venial sin.
Yes, I think I'm
in venial sin, so you're okay. Yeah.
Or the venial side.
You got to get into theological distinctions. Yeah.
I'll let you get back to work of saving souls. Father Brian, thanks so much for being on. Have yourself the happiest of Easters, and continue to do the Lord's work. We appreciate your time. Thank you, Father.
God bless everybody.
Yeah, man. There it goes. All right. Their favorite song, hit my dad's favorite song there, Andrew. There you go, there. My dad's favorite ones. Here we go.
Shall see the face of God and live.
My dad loved the song, but he could never hit the high notes, so he'd get to the one part right about here. And then he'd start coughing.
You do that.
Right here. Go before you always. And this maybe somewhat sacrilegious, but Nick can't stand the fact that when she goes to the bathroom, she says, I don't want you to hear me, don't listen to me. So I always sing this song.
It's beautiful.
She's like, don't listen to me.
Blessed are your poor.
All right.
What do you guys live in a studio or something?
There's no door. There's no door over there in the bathroom area.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. There's Nate over there in the Beacon Plumbing Traffic. Does Nate?
Thanks, John. Beacon Plumbing has our update. Des Moines, South 5, just past State Route 516. We're still on scene of a disabled vehicle blocking that right lane. That's got you backed up bumper to Interurban Avenue. Seattle to Federal Way has a 20-minute delay, taking you a solid hour. Now, up in Everett, we've got huge backups. North 5 is packed from the Everett Mall up to 529. Everett to Marysville's at 35 minutes. That's a 15-minute delay. South 5, you're slowing from almost Smoky Point now down to State Route 529. Arlington to Everett is a half-hour commute, a 15-minute delay there. These backups stem from an earlier crash, South 5 near the Steamboat Slough. That cleared over an hour ago. Seattle to Everett's going to take you an hour. Bellevue to Everett catching up at 55 minutes. Over at Tiger Mountain, both directions of State Route 18 are jam-packed between the Summit and I-90 due to road work. And Tacoma to Olympia right now pushing an hour at 55 minutes. For all of your heating, electrical, septic, and mechanical needs, stop freaking. Call Beacon. KIRO News Radio, real-time traffic. I'm Nate Connors.
This hour brought to you by Home Comfort Alliance. Heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical.
KIRO News Radio doesn't just report the news. We help you make sense of it.
People in this area, they have us. We can keep this guy honest. That's our job.
New media is leaving the old guard behind. Yes.
We provide the analysis and context you need to stay ahead in these fast-paced times.
That man is still on the loose, and Everett police are searching for him.
Seattle Public Schools look to boost graduation rates by 10% over the next 5 years.
Stay tuned with KIRO News Radio, where you'll find out why.
Oh, boy. If you plan on getting those new windows for that house of yours, I think that's a great idea because you're going to increase the value of your house. Think about when you go to sell it, new people come in, wow, they got new windows. And you're going to save money every single day because, let's face it, if you're trying to cool the house, that's cold air going out or that's warm air going in. You know how it works. The drafty windows cost you money every single day. And the way it'll probably work for you is you'll call a couple of different places because there are a few other businesses that do windows. Make sure one of them is Window Nation. Why? Well, they are the biggest and the best, and the only way they got that way was simply providing the best service. Check out all their 5-star Google reviews. And when you talk to those other guys that are in there trying to get windows, You ask them about a lifetime warranty. They don't have it. You see, Window Nation has a lifetime warranty. They're going to put Milgard windows in the home of yours with a lifetime warranty. You will love working with them. When Window Nation comes in, you get 4 windows you buy, and you get 4 windows free. You buy 4, get 4 free, and you don't pay anything till 2027. You can't lose with Window Nation. That's Window Nation. 866-90-NATION. That's 866-90-NATION. That's windownation.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Hartley Wilcox here from Wilcox Family Farms. A question we get asked a lot this time of year is, how do the hens stay warm when it's so cold out? Of course, we have nice barns to protect them from the rain, wind, and snow. But also, their feathers are like a down jacket, and if they need additional warmth, they will often snuggle together. And for those very cold days, we have heaters to keep them comfortable and happily laying eggs. Wilcox is committed to organic, humane practices that keep our hens healthy and help preserve the land. When you choose food from local family farmers like Wilcox, you support the local economy with jobs and promote environmental sustainability, making it possible for our family to keep on producing great eggs for another 100 years. Pick up Wilcox eggs at Costco, Marlene's, and Hagen's. And for a healthy snack on the go, grab some ready-to-eat, pre-peeled, hard-boiled eggs in a convenient to-go 2-pack. Wilcox Family Farms, locally fresh since 1909.
Cold is leaking and rats are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Hey there, Dawn Riding with Olympic Hot Tub. Swimming your way to a healthier you is now easier and more affordable than ever with an Endless Pool Swim Spa. During our spring savings event, save up to $9,000 on an Endless Pools package and get a free gift bundle including a Bluetooth sound system worth up to $3,200. Don't miss out. Ends April 13th. More at OlympicHotTub.com. Better you, better life.
Olympic Hot Tub.
Hey, it's Dave Ross with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD from Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Dr. Wagner is hosting a free stem cell webinar Thursday, April 24th to explain stem cell therapy.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And remind us which joints you've had the best success with.
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures, so if you're in pain, join him Thursday, April 24th for the free stem cell webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
KIRO News Radio, continuing coverage.
Good afternoon, I'm Aaron Granillo. A SWAT team still surrounding a motel in Everett at this hour. This is where police say 2 suspects are barricaded inside. The Everett Herald reports this is all unfolding at the Far West Motel on Evergreen Way, just a couple blocks north of Madison Street. Police say they responded to this scene after reports of a shooting involving those suspects, and they still may be inside. Again, police asking you to avoid the area. Some students at the international community at the University of Washington say they are on edge. KIRO News Radio's Heather Bosch explains why.
The federal government has canceled the visas of 13 University of Washington students and 10 recent graduates who are participating in post-grad training. In a statement, the UW says neither it nor the students received prior notice and that the university only found out by checking a federal government record system that said the visas were revoked due to a, quote, immigration status violation. It gave no details. Heather Bosch, KIRO News Radio.
And in a separate case, a federal judge in Tacoma ordered the federal government to reinstate the student visa status for a UW grad student. Homeland Security terminated the Chinese student's status because of a pending DUI case from 2 years ago. A fight is brewing in Pierce County over immigration enforcement. Sheriff Keith Swank tells KTTH's Jason Rantz he's opposed to reaffirming the county's sanctuary status.
If they didn't get a hold of me, I'm going to reach out to ICE and the Washington, D.C., the Trump administration, Department of Justice, and I'm going to tell them what's going on here and ask them for a hand.
Swank says he may also join a federal immigration enforcement program. The county council is expected to vote soon on the sanctuary resolution. It is billed as a U.S. Supreme Court hearing on birthright citizenship next month, but the Trump administration will ask justices to consider a different issue, whether lower courts can block executive orders nationwide. CBS legal analyst Jan Crawford says this has been a source of frustration for the White House.
Judges have issued nationwide injunctions that one judge that affects the entire country that bans, Trump's arguments on birthright citizenship. That actually is the narrow legal issue that the justices are going to take up.
And that hearing is set for May 15th. Let's go now to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk coming up on 3:34. Here's Nate Connors.
It's a busy one out there, Aaron. Beacon Plumbing has our update. In Des Moines, though, we did clear our long-term stall, South 5 at State Route 516. It had a right lane blocked, so this opens up one lane, but it left you with a bumper-to-bumper backup starting way back at Interurban Avenue. Seattle to Federal Way, a 55-minute drive. That's a 20-minute delay. Up in Everett, North 5 is packed from the Everett Mall up to State Route 529. Everett to Marysville's at 35 minutes. Coming the other way, South 5, you're going to start slowing in Smoky Point all the way down to State Route 529. Arlington to Everett is now a 35-minute commute. That's about a 20-minute delay. Again, these backups stem from an earlier crash that cleared way over an hour ago. Seattle to Everett, 1 hour. Bellevue to Everett, 1 hour. Everett to Seattle, 1 hour. You got a little backup there near the Everett Mall, and then again from Northgate to I-90. Everett to Bellevue's at 35 minutes. It's also 35 minutes Bellevue to South Center, and our lake bridges are actually wide open. For all of your heating, electrical, septic, and mechanical needs, stop freaking. Call Beacon. KIRO News Radio, real-time traffic. I'm Nate Connors.
Showing 76 degrees at this hour in Tacoma, 77 in Everett, 72 degrees in downtown Seattle. Just perfect summer-like weather out there. Sunny skies. Tomorrow we do have a few scattered showers, temperatures in the upper 50s for the weekends. Right now, again, 72 in downtown Seattle. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
All right, welcome back, everybody. The John Curley Show. Don't forget, Know-It-All quiz coming up, 5:30. One interesting thing about yourself. Oh, breaking news! Oh, no! Look out, breaking news! Jake Paul goes back into the ring. Ugh. What did you say?
Ugh.
Joe says, ugh.
I second that.
Aaron says seconds that. Ugh. Ugh. Double ugh. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. 37-year-old Chavez will go back into the ring, comes out of retirement, take on Jake Paul.
Does he only take on people who come out of retirement? Is that his thing?
Yes.
That is his thing.
Okay.
Yes.
I think he's only fought one boxer who...
He's taking on Celine Dion next.
She's got stiff face syndrome or something.
Okay, you have to bring that up.
Well, she...
That could help.
You think?
I don't know. Aaron, would that help?
Oh, boy. I'm not going to go there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Breaking news again. Breaking news. Aaron will not go there.
Yes.
Okay. It's the update for everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
By the way, that's going to be one of the quiz questions
Oh, good. Right. Number again, please?
Yes, 1-888-973-5476. 1-888-973-5476. One interesting... Thank you, Teeny. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. One interesting thing about yourself to Joe. Find yourself on the radio answering how many questions I write during the show. And then send to Joe. And then you win yourself a whole box of Bite Me Cookies, the official cookie of the John Curley Show.
Oh, the cookies.
Okay, there we go. Boy, I tell you, we play that Casey Kasem thing, cursing like 50 times in the thing, and then I bring on a Catholic priest. That was good timing.
I know.
Really good time. Thanks, Joe.
Total accident.
Yeah. I'm sure Father Brian's like, oh my God, what is this show going on?
He was laughing. I was watching his
Was he enjoying it?
He was.
Okay, it's ponderous. Get down on the phone. Alrighty. Yeah, it is Easter. I decided, I don't know, I was cleaning up. Nick and I are moving from one apartment. Nicole and I are moving from one apartment over to the other one. We took Jack's apartment. Remember, Jack Steins.
Floor to ceiling windows.
Floor to ceiling, expensive apartment. Too expensive. Why do you have that apartment? So when they gave him the old heave-ho here, gave him a chance to spend more time with his family and pursue other interests.
In Hawaii, by the way.
Yes, he's in Hawaii doing well. I owe him another call. He's doing really well, by the way. So he said, God, I got that apartment. I got this. They're not going to let me out. It's like $15,000 or something. I said, okay, I'll take the apartment. So I took the apartment from him. And then I thought, why are we in this big, stupid apartment with all the big windows and everything? I could live in a box, a small box. I said, Nick, go. So Nick's like, she's the Doge of the Curley family.
Right.
So I think we're saving like $700 a month. Which then I realized, oh, well, that's just the money we're wasting on the boat now. So we're not really saving it. We're just moving around, moving the deck chairs around of the Titanic, the Curley Titanic going down.
So are you moving into a different apartment in the same building?
Same building. We're moving 2 or 3 floors up and a couple over into a smaller spot. So we're saving money. So I timed it perfectly. I was able to leave just as she has to move everything. So
oh, that's big of you. What a husband.
Only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign
on the line that is dotted. I called her during the break, and I hear like, I'm moving the mattress now. Like, harder than moving a mattress by yourself.
Why doesn't she wait until you're off?
Oh, don't encourage that type of thing.
Poor Nick.
These women fought hard for equal rights. Let them have it.
Okay.
Move on everything. Okay. Move it on.
Bing.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
So there she goes, across there. I met the guy that runs the building over there. Nice guy named Nick as well. And he said, I used to watch Evening Magazine all the time and talking to him. I said, what's really weird about the people that live in this building? Nobody engages with anybody. I still do that thing on Monday where these people get in the elevator, no one says anything. So always like, how's everybody's Monday going? Hey. We're looking forward to Monday.
You give him the finger guns?
I did the finger. I'm John. I'm over there in 231. How's everybody doing? No, you're on the 7th floor. Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, fancy floor.
You make any friends yet?
Nope, nobody really likes me.
I thought you met a doctor.
Met a doctor. Did. Was up there trying to figure out how to work the fancy grill that they have. Talking to this doctor, he works with people that have drug problems and they're homeless and stuff. He's over at Harborview. He's finishing up his internship here, or his residency here, and then he's moving to Baltimore. Nice guy, very interesting young man.
And he would work 36 hours straight, I think he said?
Yeah, he did. He just finished that 36-hour thing, and he was still more
energized?
Yeah, than I was at the time while I was struggling to how to cook a piece of chicken. This being Good Friday, we just had Father Brian on. We talked all about, Good Friday and Catholicism and Christianity and stuff like that. It was nice to see the text message that came in from a lot of folks. The Creasters, those are the people that go to Mass, go to church on Christmas and Easter. I used to have I was an altar boy, and I had this great priest by the name of Father Dreary, which fit him sometimes, and other times it didn't. And he used to do this thing. He used to say this all the time when on Christmas and Easter. He used to say, for those of you sitting in the front, that's good. God's got old eyes so he can see you. You in the back,